Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Pitch podcast. Obviously, it's been a little while since we filmed an episode, so we're super excited to be back. And we've got another fantastic guest joining us in Samuel. Samuel's obviously had a lot of coaching experience in women's football, and I'm sure he's got lots of exciting stories to share about his time and how he's seen the game develop and grow. So I want to ask the first question, which we do tend to ask most people, just to get an idea of like where your journey began. So how was it that you first got into football in general, and obviously how did you get into women's football as well?
Yeah, well, it's nice to be here. So thank you for having me. And I got into football when I was young. Started playing very early, 5, 6 years old there, and kept on playing all the way up to I was around 24. And then I quit and totally got into coaching. I had started already a little bit before that, coaching my younger brother's team and also started coaching a bit in Sweden when I moved over there, some youth boys teams mainly. But then I'm from a small island called Åland, and we moved back there when we were gonna get our first child, me and my wife. So at that point, I got the opportunity to get into Åland United, a women's team there, in the Finnish league, as an assistant coach, and maybe caught me a little bit by surprise, so to say. It came fast and early in some sense. So then I decided to, like, okay, let's give this a shot, and then I stopped playing at that moment. So started quite early and been involved in the women's game pretty much since then, I would say.
Obviously, like coaching has been a big part of your football journey. How would you describe your own personal coaching style, and what would you say is the most important ways to get the best out of your players?
Yeah, well, it's been a journey also to understand how I want to coach and how I want it to be. But I would say that uh, I look at coaching and maybe teaching differently. Like I definitely like to coach a lot, and what I mean by that is I like to bring out like the potential in the person sitting in front of me or next to me, and more than giving instructions, so to say. Like, so it's more about maybe asking questions and understanding, like, okay, where do you come from? Where does she come from, and where does she want to go? And like seeing attributes and skills that the person can have, and like trying to lift that up to the surface and making that aware for the person, more so than actually teaching. But of course, I think it's very important to like go between these kind of two different roles and also teach. Like they don't know, or no one knows everything already, not me either. So, but it's also, of course, an important part. Like when you need to teach a certain playing style, or you have certain demands that you want from a role, of course, you need to be able to guide a player to that. But I really like the coaching part, like bringing it out, so to say, like what's already inside of them. But I would also say, like, in terms of like coaching style, I really like to look at the whole player, like the holistic approach, and especially when you're dealing with younger players, like you need to know that they have school, they have family, they have friends, they have other parts they need to take care of, and it can be quite a big load on them sometimes, like a heavy load to bear, and not just the football part, and understanding that everything needs to work together to create the optimal environment for them. So that I think that's an important part. I also did my bachelor thesis in psychology on athlete leadership. So I think that, or I really like the idea of like bringing out collaboration between the players and having them being part of the whole process of leading the team, or at least like being part of that, like co-owners, we can say, and having input and delegate the responsibility and see what. Once again, I would say that goes very much into the coaching part, like how can they contribute with what they have. Um, so I mean that's a lot that I think about, and I really I really like to work with people and in a team sport. So I think it's different than from a individual sport. So I really emphasize like the togetherness and the team belonging and like taking part in something that is a little bit bigger than yourself and contributing to that. I think in our society right now and overall with the players also, it's a lot of focus on the individual and or like what can I do? How can my career be better? And of course, I mean, we're all people. We want what's best for ourselves, but I think it's so rewarding when you get to be part of something and contribute to that. So I think it's really important, of course, to work with the individual, but I really like the idea of giving yourself up a little bit for the team and see how you can be a good team player, so to say. So
I mean,
that's a bit about that.
also coming back to the younger players that you've mentioned, you already have also much experience with also coaching younger players. What would you say is like the thing for also clubs and coaches and academies to do for younger players transitioning from the academy stages to the really senior team?
Yeah, I think it can be looked at from different points of view. Like if we're looking at the club structure, I think it's important with some kind of alignment through the club, like you have some kind of idea that like goes through the whole club and gives a similar sense of what we're doing there. And that can be like training methodology, like how you're actually working. So it's not like totally new experiences if you move through teams. It can be through the age groups that are younger also, not just to the first team. But yeah, it's special to go up to the first team and but everything from like a playing identity and role demands that they can be similar. It doesn't need to be exactly the same, but at least similar through the club. So you don't need to have the same formation and exactly the same way of playing, but I think that some kind of identity of what you're searching for, like, is this a team that you really want to have this kind of possession style, or do you want to have a high pressing style, or do you want to sit back more and be like more compact in a block? And that can at least make the transition smoother in football sense. But overall, like the vision from the club, like do they want young players, youth players to actually come up through the ranks and take a spot? It can be very different. Like some clubs have more money and wants to like buy a team more ready and done, so to say, or players more ready to have like success straight away. And so if you don't have the idea of like actually wanting to develop, and that comes into the head coach also, like when you're recruiting a head coach, like is that someone who's skilled with working with young players and can actually and want to bring them into the team? I think that's a big key. And that communication between the coaches, like from the first team to the second team or youth team, like are they working well together? So the relationships there, I think, is crucial. But also finding some kind of like system of like rotational training, uh, like that they get up and feel the environment and test the environment, and not everything at once. Like you need to slowly pace that out. Young players can have a tendency to be very good when you bring them up, but then they can also have a tendency to dip very fast. So trying to find that balance of how much they actually should be with the first team, and even if they are performing quite okay for some time, like it can still be good to hold them back a little bit for their own sake. And like talking with them and making them aware of like the long-term game. Like they want it fast, like they want to be there straight away and they want to play and they want to perform, which is good, of course. But as a coach, at least, like being the adult, being the calm person that they can rely on a little bit, and like, I know you're eager, but take it easy. We have this plan for you, so to say, like, and somewhere in that time span is reasonable, so to say, like. So of course you need to be flexible if someone is developing fast, you need to see that also. But yeah, I think those are some key things. And also here, like the holistic approach around the player, like good communication with the family and the school, to make it easier for the person, so to say.
Yeah, just following on from that, I wanted to ask about your coaching journey. So for anyone who kind of doesn't know, where did you first start? Like what team did you start with and how did you sort of progress through each team that you sort of went to, and what were the reasons why you went to a certain team? And yeah, just a little bit about that kind of background and journey, and kind of also what you personally like learned and developed as you went along.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say my first real job was with Ola United in the Finnish Women's League. Quite successful club over the years before me, but had some like, yeah, bad financial situation just before I came in, and I was a young coach. I mean, I was 24 years old, and I got to take over as a head coach, and so that was a big step for me. And then leading people who are, older than yourself, and also at that level, just coming in. But it was a really fun journey over 3 years. Like we had a vision and a plan to be able to compete for the gold medal or the first place in 3 years, and we managed to succeed with that. Or not just that, we actually won the cup the same year also. So we did something that hadn't been done in the club before, like bringing home the double. And I think it was such a great experience, with meeting so many new people and learning from so many around you, like as a young person, but also helping a lot of people, or like helping them on the journey, football-wise, players, but also staff, like a lot of great persons, coaches that I got to work with, and the sporting director who had been there for ages, like a really experienced guy who could really support me and give me a lot of freedom to work also. So I think, I mean, I started to shape my whole coaching uh, identity there, and got a lot of room to work and try and test and experiment, I would almost say. Um, and yeah, it ended up with some great success in that case, and it was something I will cherish for a long time, since it's my like home town or home place. So it's yeah, good memories from that time, and good relationships that I have with many people. I actually spoke to my former assistant coach from that time today. So it was a long time I spoke to him, but now I did it, and it was yeah, it's really nice. So a lot of good memories. But after that, I went on to Umeå Eco, former big club, as you probably know, like not the same anymore, different financial situation also there, like in terms of how they can compete. But they were in the second tier when I came in, and we brought in a lot of academy players then, like moving them up to the first team, and it was a totally new young team, but also with some really skilled, experienced players mixed into that. And I think that mix was really great to see. Like in the beginning, there was some concerns from the older players, of like, where is the level of this team? Like they expected more in the first 2-3 months there in preseason. We have a long preseason, and they felt that it's gonna be hard for us. But that's the crazy or really nice thing with young players. They can grow and develop so fast. So during that season, they just like sprung through, so to say, like, and really came through with their development, and performed really well. So we managed to win the second tier, and go up to Damallsvenskan with that talented team. And I think many of them are now like in different clubs out in the Damallsvenskan, like in Häcken, and playing Champions League. And yeah, it's that was a great journey also. But in Damallsvenskan, the second year was tougher for us, and we didn't manage to stay up. So that's also like in afterwards, at least we can say, a good experience. It wasn't nice at the moment. It's really tough as a elite coach to not have good results. But yeah, I think it also made me realize that playing for success, or playing for surviving is maybe not so far apart. Like, yeah, the emotions are different in some sense, but there are also a lot of pressure when you're winning. Like you want a lot then also. So there are many similarities actually. And after that, I've had the opportunity to coach IK Uppsala in Damallsvenskan 1 season or half a season. We can say I came in mid through, which also a new experience to come in the middle of a season. And yeah, now at the moment I'm scouting for San Diego Waves, so trying to look at some top talent.
During your coaching journey, would you say there was a specific moment where you began to develop your own strategies and philosophy, or was this more of a process?
Definitely like a process. I think I already started to be intrigued by leadership when I was like 16, 17 when I was playing. Was also captain for some teams or that I played for. So I was interested in that and started out quite early with the coaching part already when I was like 18, 19, something like that. And this, if I think back to that time, yeah, it has happened some stuff. It's like, um, but I think you learn a lot on the job. So to say, like when you're in the environment and just coaching and you're doing mistakes, a lot of mistakes, and in terms of how you should design training sessions or how you speak to people or how you bring out the best of them. Like to lead people is such a interesting and hard topic that really intrigues me. So I think you never can really probably get done with that. So to say, there are so many different personalities to adhere to. So, but I mean, all those different experiences I think has shaped me, like the coaching ones, but also different educations. Like all of them, but like the pro license, for example, with the Swedish FA was a really good leadership uh, education. And I think it's well suited for the elite coaching role. So I think learned a lot from there and also from like studying in different ways like psychology and I really like to take inspiration from like coaches around the world, like from different sports also, like basketball, Steve Kerr, for example, and Phil Jackson, like basketball legends, I would say, and but also from the football world, of course, both on the women's and men's side, and I think you can take a little bit from here and there, and you still need to be yourself, so to say, and stay true to what you believe in, but you can get ideas and shape them to be your own. So yeah, different inputs from different sides.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you also said that obviously players are individuals. So, how do you manage to really follow your coaching philosophy while also really paying attention to the individuals and the needs of every single player because they are different and it's probably quite hard to follow your philosophy while, as I said, paying attention to everyone's needs.
Yeah, it is. It is a big challenge. Probably the biggest challenge, maybe with the job, like to understand everybody and I think one part is like creating this environment where everybody feel that they are sharing it and taking charge of it, because then you can get feedback from your peers, like your colleagues. You can get feedback from other in the staff, not just only the head coach. So I think that's a big key to like making the individual feel good and develop. But of course, it's important like the communication from a head coach, from myself to the players. So like trying to really invest time in that part of my job, like sitting down with them or finding them after training or something like that. And yeah, I mean it's a little bit the same I said already, like also making them part of something that's more purposeful, like which I think is serving others and helping others become better and trying to give that kind of vision or idea to them also to help their teammates, I think develops them a lot also, both as persons and football players. But yeah, pretty much like that, I would say.
Yeah, I wanted to talk. We obviously talked a lot about coaching. I wanted to obviously move into your role as a scout for San Diego Wave. What sort of inspired you to take up that role? Obviously, there's some similarities between that, but also it's slightly different for you. And also love to know about sort of your experiences like working in this sort of a new league, a new country. Sort of what are the differences that you've seen, and obviously what is your role like? And that's a lot of questions in one, but a
Yeah,
little bit about your role as a scout in that league would be great.
yeah. I mean, it's really fun. It's a new experience for me. Of course, you are scouting for your own team when you're a coach also, but it's not like the main thing. I'm doing this like on remotely, so I'm still living in Sweden and doing most of it through, or maybe all of it we can say through video, at least now in the beginning. And I think it definitely helps me to have the experience that I have as a coach. Like, hopefully, I understand what a coach wants and a team needs a little bit more. And when I look at the games of San Diego, I can, yeah, probably analyze it and understand it from a coach's perspective. And then like, okay, so this is what the team is in need for, probably short term and long term, and of course in discussion with the people that I'm under, so to say, like and assisting, like the head of recruitment and chief scouts, so to say, that really great people I'm learning a lot from and trying to assist in different ways. I mean, the league is definitely different to what I'm used to. It's maybe, or I think it's still the best league in the world. Maybe you are on a different view on that. Like it could be the women's league in the UK, but I still think that it's the most even league, so to say. Like all the teams are really strong there and very physical, we can say, or not just physical but fast in both decision making and technique also. So it's a very high tempo league. And that demands, I think, specific things from players. So not just because you are a very good player doesn't mean you actually suit the league over there. So talking about that and trying to find a good alignment with those there and understanding like, okay, so these are the needs and these are the specific qualities. And yeah, so that's been a little bit uh, challenging, we can say, and but also very interesting. And I think, yeah, it's a nice job, so to say. Like it's a nice job to do. It's very different. It's more free. You know, you put your own time out there. You don't have sessions to attend. You work more isolated, and then have these different meetings and talks, of course, to see. But it's been good so far. So I hope it continues like that.
Obviously, you're saying that that's a new role for you, but what would you say are your goals for the future in your career, whether that's coaching or scouting?
Oh, well, I really like what I'm doing for the moment, but I do love coaching. I do love coaching, and I think I can help people the best in that kind of environment, in that kind of role. So I do hope that I can at some point coach again. And yeah, it would be fun. I mean, I've coached in Finland and Sweden, but it would be really cool to coach in a different country in Europe or in the US or yeah, some top tier league. And it's fun to be ambitious and like work with the best people out there. So getting to be part of a good club or even in a national team like that would also be very fun to get to see and experience and be part of like these tournaments like the World Cup or the Olympics or something like that. That's something I would really appreciate also, I think, in the future.
Yeah, I wanted to come on and sort of obviously we've talked about like your career as a whole. you've had a lot of different experiences. What would you say was, this is probably a hard question, but what would you say is sort of the highlight of that? Like, is there a specific moment in your career that stands out to you that's like sort of like your biggest highlight or your biggest success in any way?
Oh yeah, it's a tough one. But so it depends a little bit how you look at it, because it could be as subtle or like as small as a conversation with a player, or like in a certain situation where you feel like you really connected, or like help them in a necessary way, so to say, like. And but yeah, in terms of success, I think that the double with Ola United, like, was such a cool thing to like build over time, and do together with people I really enjoyed working with. And it became such a buzz on the island, so to say, like, the whole island was behind us. And I think that's, since I'm also from there, it becomes a little bit more, close to the heart. So I think that was special. But I do hope, at least in terms of experiences and hopefully successful, so that there is more to come, and that haven't seen everything yet, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there's much more exciting things to come as well, but obviously like a great journey that you've had. And obviously you've been, like I say, you've been in a lot of different leagues and you've seen over time the game as a whole develop. And obviously more recently we've seen the game sort of skyrocket and develop, especially over here in the UK. And obviously America's kind of always had that, but they're still growing in every sense. So what, from your perspective, being in the industry, how have you seen sort of women's football develop? And is there anything that sort of stands out for you that's changed or improved, or just in general, like from your own personal perspective?
Yeah, I think it's been really fast these last years. I think even when I got in, like, that's not so long ago, I feel like, so 2017, 18, it hadn't really boomed yet. So I mean, it's just these last 5 years that so much has happened, I think. And I mean, in many, many positive ways, I would say. So, I mean, before, the Swedish league was probably at some point maybe one of the best leagues in the world. It's still a really, really strong league, and we can see that when they're competing in Champions League, that there are good results there for Häcken before, and Rosengård, but now also Hammarby, but it's definitely becoming more of a league that is sending players to the UK, or the US, or the French league. Or so I mean, the money is coming in there for sure in those leagues, and the double clubs, so to say, like the men's clubs. I've really only worked for women's clubs, like, specifically, and I think that's, you can understand and see the meaning of that, like why they have been needed, because pushing the questions, so to say, like pushing the boundaries forward, and really focusing solely on the women's game. But now, when the society is more like opening up for more equality, so to say, and understanding that we're all part of this world, and I think also from a business perspective, they're understanding, oh, there's 50% more people to get money from here also. Like, getting more interest, and into the game, so to say, like. So um, I think Finland and Sweden definitely need to keep up, like, in terms of player development, and I think they're doing quite a good job there already, but they need to stay on track there to have a part in all of this. I think the game is going to continue to get more resources into it, and becoming more professional. And I think that's a good thing, but I hope it can also become its unique sport, so to say. Like, it doesn't just need to copy everything that the men's game is doing. It feels like it's still more pure, if to say so. It's not the same kind of uh, problems with maybe corrupt systems, or like gambling, betting, that kind of thing, that uh, I would say hasn't, as much, at least we can say, got into the game. And yeah, so I hope that the development can continue in a professional sense for the game, but not maybe taking all the dark stuff with it, so to say. So we'll see where it goes, but I definitely think that it's just gonna get bigger still and more involvement around the world, like more girls are playing in different countries, and yeah, the interest is just gonna keep on going for some time still. Then we'll see when it hits the roof, but not yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And you kind of did touch on it there, but the last question that I was going to sort of finish with was obviously the future of women's football is going to progress. We've seen it. We're hoping it will continue sort of on this trajectory. But is there anything like specific that you think the game needs? I know you touched on obviously the player progression and how we can develop players. Is there anything specific that you think maybe is it sort of you mentioned about clubs that are just women's clubs. Obviously in the UK we have a lot of clubs that are linked with other like men's clubs and things like that. Obviously we've seen Michelle Kang owning sort of
Mm.
3 clubs as well. Is it that financial funding that the game needs from maybe owners who are just focused on a women's club, or what other things maybe would sort of allow the game to develop in such a way that you mentioned?
I think it's yeah, that's a good point. Like with Michelle Kang and her investments and those three clubs that she has right now. What I know of at least. And I think it's important that a person like her and that kind of interest is there, because it could easily be that we just hand it over, or what to call it, like and yeah, it's not the same. Like it can easily be that you're standing in the shadow then, and you're not getting the same kind of attention or same kind of resources when you need to decide. So to say, like when everything is going good, it's not a problem. But when you end up in a situation where you need to limit resources and like start to decide, it can easily become like, okay, so who's gonna go first? So to say, like, yeah, the youth side and then maybe the women's side. So I think it's still in need for those like specific women's clubs to drive the change together, and with these like double clubs or what we call it, and hopefully over time that can be a good mix, like to keep it like competing, or like it's a good competition then to like really seeing the value of investing, because I think that people are really realizing how much profit it is to invest. Like you create so many good role models for young girls, but you also create, as I said, like a good business model also. So it's from many perspectives that it's a positive thing. A lot of more, I can feel that at least a lot of more women are getting involved, at least in terms on the elite level, like more women's coaches and more overall, like in leading positions in the clubs. And I think that's great, of course, like creating a situation where everybody uh, is involved and not just like half of the world. So I think it has a big potential of being actually, I think now I'm talking what I mean, like the women's game has a big potential of maybe even being better than the men's game in some sense, like keeping, as we said, these worse sides off, and really like being uh, involving like everybody, and a potential to like yeah, being a really positive force in society, I would say. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's only going to continue on that kind of path, and hopefully it's a positive one. And kind of have to think about the ways to grow the game and put that money in, but in the right way, like you say, and not getting carried away and trying to turn it into the sort of the money making scheme that I feel like maybe men's football has become. But yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to obviously so thank you so much for coming on. And I think it's really important that we get people on who have worked in the women's game. I know for a lot of there's not a lot of conversations on the topic and journeys and experiences and how there'll be a lot of people obviously watching that hopefully want to continue and be able to do that and get into coaching and scouting and working in the women's game and seeing it develop. So thank you for taking your time to obviously talk about your experiences, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will be able to learn from that and hopefully achieve, great things similar to yourself. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me on.